The Browns host the Rams on Saturday in the only preseason game in Cleveland, and the first team offense will get the call for at least a series or two. Noah, anything in particular you're looking for here?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how long the starters will play. In Kevin Stefanski's defense, he normally only does do one or two drives with the starters, so we'll see how long they're really in there. But my bigger question is, what names are actually going to play? Do we think that we're going to see Miles Garrett, Joe Bitonio, even David Njoku? What do you think about that, E?
So I was thinking about this earlier, and of the three names you just listed, Miles Garrett definitely not. Batonio, I would lean towards no as well.
Especially
Um,
with real quick how Tevin Jenkins played in the last game. He plays guard. You don't have to worry about Joe Flacco dealing with the Swiss cheese offensive line. Yes, I agree with you.
yeah, there's just not a lot of upside there to roll a guy like Batonio out. Same with Miles Garrett. There's not a lot of upside there. Who I would look to see though is, um, wow, I already blanked on his name, the tight end, and
David
Joku.
Njoku, yeah.
I do expect to see him actually, and I think part of that is because the offense that we're going to roll out and want to roll out this season is going to be pretty tight end heavy in some of those sets, and I think they want it for a series or two. I think they want to get him out there. We'll see. I could see them also going the other way with it, but if you're rolling out Flacco, you kind of got to roll out the guys he's going to throw to, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree for the most part too. I think that there's a chance you don't see some of these bigger names. I could even argue that we might not see Jerry Judy. Like that wouldn't surprise me. Um, Especially with how well some of these second to third string receivers have been doing in the preseason thus far. And because of the fact that the Rams, I know we haven't really talked about the opponents as much in these preseason previews because it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but the Rams don't typically play their starters at all, ever in the preseason. So
Preseason's kind of useless. Let's admit it.
it depends. It's up and down. For this season, for us as Browns fans, I would argue that it isn't useless because, I mean, the
I
hype and
mean it,
talking and looking at the rookie quarterbacks. But in
and the bubble guys, yeah.
other instances like Matt Stafford or what have you, when your quarterback's been around forever, there's, yeah, no reason to play them in the preseason. So it ebbs and flows. It goes both ways.
Will we see Stetson Bennett on the other side?
Probably, I would think. Why not? I think we'll see
Yeah.
whoever the hell they want to throw out there. I want to ask a question about a player that we've talked about a lot on this show. First of all, I didn't mean to not get your take. Are we going to see Stetson Bennett? Yes, we're going to see Stetson Bennett, right?
I would assume, yeah. He's that QB2, right? Right now.
Yeah, and he threw like 44 times in the last preseason game. The commitment to not giving a fuck that Sean McVay has for the preseason is just legendary. It's hilarious to me. I
I
want to
agree
ask
with
you,
it to an extent
I do too. It just
because
depends on,
your goal is to cut that roster down from 90. And at the end of the day, you need those guys to play to understand who you're going to cut and who you're going to keep. You know Joe Flacco's going to be there. You know Njoku, et cetera, et cetera. So in a small sense, why play them? In a bigger sense, I feel like we have started to see more injuries week one because of the lack of preseason games and the lack of time in preseason games. That timing matters a lot. So it's kind of a catch 22 in my opinion.
it is a catch 22, Eric, and I agree with you in some ways and I don't in others. We barely played the starters at all compared to, I mean, we saw Dewan Jones, we saw Cedric Tillman last week. We've seen some names. We've seen Mason Graham play a little bit too as a rookie. Last
Looks
year, we
good.
committed to the no starter thing. Do you remember how stale that team looked in week one against the Dallas Cowboys? I fell asleep in the third quarter. Do you know how many times in my life I've fallen asleep on a Browns game?
To be fair, we look stale in all but three games, but I
Right.
get your
Well,
point.
to
It was
be
just a
fair,
bad football team.
yes, it was. But the lack of preparation that I saw out of that team for a week one game
No, I
told
do
me that we
remember
needed, yeah,
exactly what you're saying. I remember sitting in the first quarter and going, "What the fuck? You had all season to prepare for the even that first." I remember turning to my dad. I was sitting with my dad at a local Browns backers bar, and I remember saying something along the lines of, "The first series was scripted. You knew what you were going to do for 30 weeks. What happened?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I do recall that. And it's tough as the NFL continues to expand games and make seasons longer and longer. You got to cut somewhere. I don't know. It's a tough, I don't know what you do here.
Yeah, I don't know what you do either. I keep alluding to it, so I want to ask you the question. Simply, will Deontay Johnson do anything in this game? What is your thoughts?
It depends who plays. I think if you have Jerry Judy out there, you have Njoku out there, and you have Deontay Johnson as a third or a fourth guy, it presents opportunities for him to get open that aren't otherwise there. And that is where he could excel this season. That said, everything we've seen so far would make me say no, he's not going to show up because he hasn't so far. I don't know what the issue is. It's not cold yet. Um, but this is a guy that was used to be a number one, maybe at the very least, a
Two
very
fringe
solid number
one.
two.
Yeah.
And he looks lost out there at times.
So my answer to my own question is no, because he doesn't look like he knows what's going on out there, and his ass is getting cut come Tuesday. That's my opinion. So
You think so?
unfortunately,
Interesting.
I do think he's going to be cut, especially because we have one DeAndre Carter, who's going to be our main return man. It looks like they haven't really given him much competition. We have, of
Well,
course,
they
adding,
tried and it
yeah,
didn't work out so well.
they added Isaiah Bond. Cedric Tillman's going to make the roster. Jamari Thrash is for sure going to make
Rash
the
looks good.
roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Amari Cooper. And you're talking about maybe rostering 4 running backs to go into the season. You're talking about maybe rostering 4 quarterbacks when this is a team that likes to really roster 2 quarterbacks. I don't think he's going to make the chopping block because it just hasn't been there for him whatsoever. And another player that it hasn't been there for, or I should say, he hasn't been there at all, is Kenny Pickett, who we talked about before the ad break. What do you think the quarterback snap breakup is going to look like? Do you think Shador is going to play, first of all?
Yes, I do. Assuming he's okay from injury, which it sounds like he's progressing well. I think that Joe Flacco will get a couple of series, two. I doubt more than 2 series, honestly. I
Yeah.
think we'll see Dylan Gabriel and Flacco and Huntley take the rest of it. It's really going to depend on whether or not Shador's up injury wise. They're not going to risk it if he's not.
Yeah.
But I expect to see a steady flow of almost like a quarter each, quarter and a half each, if not more from Huntley as the guy that's just, he's there to eat minutes kind of thing.
Yeah. I honestly kind of hope we don't see Huntley in this game. I hope, this is my hope. I hope Flacco plays his
Hmm.
1 to 2 drives. I would be fine if it was one. They'll probably put Gabriel in next and let him literally play like another 2.5 quarters and let Shador round the corner. Don't even waste the time with Huntley because this is the last time that both rookies, you can split it up evenly. This is what I think is going to happen. I would love for them to just split it up evenly between the 2 rookies, but this is the last time the 2 rookies are going to get to see game action, true game action, until they have to inevitably play for the Cleveland Browns this season. So I
Yeah.
don't think Huntley is going to eat any of the minutes unless Shador Sanders is, of course, out. But with him being limited today, they have another full practice tomorrow. I believe it may be a walkthrough. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's actually a walkthrough now that I'm talking. But if he's full go tomorrow, I would expect him to play. Stefanski shut down Pickett right away today. He did not do that for one Shador Sanders.
I want to talk real quick, moving on to a different segment of the team, which is you talked a tiny bit about special teams, but one Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah,
How do we feel about him? Because he did hit that 46-yarder against the Eagles. Give him credit there.
it didn't
But
look like it went through. That's what the media was talking heavy about, was because it didn't look like it went through, but they still called it a field goal. But continue.
my point is, not very confident in Hopkins, and he could be another guy that's on the verge of losing his spot after this game.
Yeah, that was my big question too. I wrote, will DeAndre Carter have any type of competition whatsoever? Like, will we try to throw Deontay Johnson back there as a returner? We talked about that already. Will Dustin Hopkins get reps, or will this be the Andre Smith show, which is the backup kicker that we have right now? And
Mhm.
my question is, if that's the case, and if he shows out, what are they going to do? Because they owe Hopkins a lot of money from that extension they signed 2 years ago when he had a really great year. But if Schmidt plays, it's hard to say because it's SZMYT,
Yeah, I think it's
Schmidt,
Schmidt. Yeah.
Schmidt, whatever. If he plays the majority of this game, I think it's been more of a competition behind the scenes than we were led to believe at all.
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting. Obviously, he wasn't even in the NFL last year. He was
No.
with the St. Louis Battlehawks. Um, so
Yes.
will he
That
present much of a threat to Hopkins? I don't know. I do think that you have to look at it in terms of sunk costs. I don't think you can. I get it. I know cap hits, etc. But if you have a guy that's losing you football games because he's missing extra points, let alone field goals, you've got to evaluate wherever you can, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that the Browns are doing anything wrong or looking at Schmidt at all is a bad thing. I mean, Brandon Aubrey, who was the best kicker last year, started his professional career in I believe it was the XFL at the time, but the UFL with the Birmingham Stallions. Now he is one of, if not the best kicker in the league. So maybe that's the new perfect science. This goes back to our original topic about is the UFL or should the UFL be a minor league? When it comes to special teams, it looks like it already kind of is. Brandon Aubrey being a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I think that is a good point, and he was a solid kicker at Syracuse. He won the Lou Groza early
Yeah.
on in his career there, I think as maybe a sophomore.
Yeah.
Um, but he could be a guy. But yeah, absolutely. If he can prove himself, kicker's one of those positions where UFL, XFL, it doesn't matter where you're playing. You're pretty much doing the exact same thing. Whether or not you can kick, that's key, right? And
Yeah.
if he can, then I say we give him a shot.
Yeah. Can I round us back to offense real quick? I had two more
Yeah.
bullet points I wanted to hit on. I'm really curious about Amani Marshall again in this game because I think he has shown the right, especially with all the Judkins hubbub going on right now,
Hmm.
to make the roster and potentially take some carries in week one. Do you favor Amani Marshall? Do you favor Pierre Strong? I know we touched on this a little bit on the Monday show, but I think this is going to be a big point of contention looking at this preseason game here on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Pierre Strong. I'm not a big believer. I don't think he's a guy that can carry you through a season. What I actually want to see is more from Dylan Sampson because we haven't really seen anything from him. I think that's good news when where he's concerned because I think he's going to be pretty heavily favored back throughout the season. And I want us to get the Quinshon Judkins deal done.
Yeah.
I hate the waiting, and I get it. I know there's still a NFL investigation that we have to figure out what's going to happen there and whether or not he's going to be suspended. But we went from potentially having a decent 1-2 punch rookie running backs that could stand out for us to now having just so many question marks here. I agree with you though on Monty Marshall. I think he is the guy to beat right now. I'd rather see more of him, frankly, than Pierre Strong, but
Me too.
it's a long season at that position. That's the thing. And they're going to need guys because they're going to take a beating.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why we really haven't seen much of Dylan Sampson. I think he's impressed to a point in camp where they're like, we don't want to take any tread off of these tires, especially with the
Yeah.
Judkins situation. We're just going to hold off.
Yeah,
Talking
no,
run
I
game, go ahead.
agree. And I don't know. I love Dylan Sampson's style of running. He was that SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year. He's a hell of a back. But I think you're right. I think they're trying to avoid him taking big hits in meaningless football games. And it'll be interesting to see the load carry though in week one.
It will
Um,
be.
if he gets 60% of the snaps, that's a lot for a rookie that literally hasn't played. I don't know. I think it's going to be fascinating how we break that up.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating for sure. And I'm really excited to see what happens, especially with it being a whole new running back room. I know we're all bittersweet because Nick Chubb is now with the Texans, but new beginnings sometimes are still a good thing at the same time. And as we
It's
continue,
exciting.
yeah, it is exciting. It's bittersweet, is the best way to put it. We
I
were
love Nick
speaking,
Chubb, but it was time. And
it
from
was
all
time.
reports coming out of camp down there, it was definitely time.
Yes, I agree. And we've talked about that before on the show. Make sure you check out some of the other episodes of At the Office if you haven't
By the
already.
by the way, just real quick, one more note about Dylan Sampson because I mentioned that he's not getting a lot of quality playing time. He is going up against a hell of a defensive front every day in practice,
Yes,
talking
he
about
is.
his own defensive front. So he is getting some valuable reps, when you got to go against one Miles Garrett or even Schwessinger
I
now
was going to
coming
say
into the
that
gap.
linebacking core, man, has been awesome this season. If there is going to be a bright spot, even if we go 5 and what would that be, 12? Even if we go 5 and 12 this year, that is still a bright spot, is going to be this Cleveland Browns defense. And we'll move to them in 1 second. I want to talk about one more thing related to the run game, and that is the big fella, Dewan Jones, who played in the second preseason game. A lot of people, me and yourself included, kind of
Mhm.
had the conspiracy that maybe it was, we haven't seen enough out of you, Dewan. We want to see more out of you. And it was almost punishment in a way, making him play almost 2 quarters of a preseason game. How much do you think Dewan Jones is going to play in this game?
That's a good question. A decent amount, I think. I think part of it's the familiarity too. Did he not switch from right to left side?
Yeah,
Um,
he did.
so
I
I
mean, he
mean
played
that's
some left last year as well, but
right, but I think he's still transitioning there, and I think that's why they want to see more and more snaps out of him. I would say he's in there, but not for the whole game. I would say
I
maybe a quarter.
I would think that they'll play him a quarter or two as well. He'll play a little bit longer than the flat out starters, like if Wyatt Teller or even Zach Zinter, not Zach Zinter, who's our starter, Jack Conklin, for example.
Oh,
I don't know
Conklin, yeah.
why. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be in there quite as short as them, but I do think he's going to play a lot more. I wonder if a little bit of it is a stress test too on Dewan Jones
That
because
new
he's gotten
body.
hurt. Yeah, hurt and the new body. He's so much thinner compared to what he was in years past. I wonder if they're trying to put, the nose to the grindstone, for lack of a better phrase, and see if he, sharpens at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think he lost at least 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Which he's a big boy. He needed to. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, he had some struggles in camp, like you're alluding to, in his uh, whether or not he's up to speed with the health side. So that's a question mark. Like, can he even last a full game at full go? I don't know the answer to that right now. Um, but it'll be interesting to see how will he and the rest of the line hold up because it's been a weak point for us.
For sure. It's going to be very fun to talk offensive line this year as a former offensive lineman who understands the intricate parts of that game and really break down and see what's going on, if this O line has bounced back in a more well suited offensive scheme or if they're going to continue to trend downward with their age. You want to round it over to defense now?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to go in order of the news that broke this week. So let's talk Denzel Ward first.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Unfortunate news.
Denzel Ward suffered a right shoulder injury in a one on one drill during camp. I believe this was Monday. And then it came out a little bit later that he was okay for the most part. He avoided a catastrophe. Kevin Stefanski was quoted as saying he is day to day this week, and we should expect to see him soon. How do you feel about the Denzel Ward injury, Eric?
It worries me, and whether or not he's okay, like hopefully he is, obviously, but it's a position where they've been made of glass a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's a position where how many times are we going to say, "Hey, we have really great guys, but they're hurt, but this." At a certain point, you need to move on, and that's not what I'm saying here. I'm not saying move on from Denzel Ward, but we need guys that will remain healthy for us. We can't keep saying the ceiling's here, but he's always on the bench because he's hurt. That doesn't help us any. So it's just another one of those things where I think, as soon as you texted me, oh God, Denzel's hurt or something like that.
Yeah,
And I immediately have the reaction like, great, like we can't have nice things like your cold open from a couple episodes ago, because that's how it feels. It feels like we're always just that one injury away. So I'm hoping that he can remain healthy for the season, but that'd be a huge loss if he does go down at some point this year.
it would be a huge loss if he goes down, especially with the injuries that are going on in that secondary. You never move on from a guy like Denzel Ward because despite the injury concerns, he is a top 10 corner in this league and he anchors it down back there when he's playing. Last season, he was relatively healthy for us too, which is good. Let's hope that this is his one little nick in the road for the whole season because it seems like one of those things where you can just keep him out of the preseason game, let him take his little rests, and then he can play and worry about Jamar Chase in week 1 of the regular season. So, crisis averted, in my opinion, there. Crisis not averted though, and then we'll get to the trade because that's D line. We'll wrap with D line. Crisis not averted though. Cam Mitchell, who has moved into the slot corner role, has done everything but impress. I said
Mm-hmm.
but impress there. He has been pretty bad, whether it be practice with us, practice against other team, preseasons games. He is looking like Swiss cheese out there, my friend. How are you feeling about Cam Mitchell for this game? Are your eyes glued to that secondary to see what one Cam is doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much given up on him at this point. It's not good. The good news is we have some really good guys and a really good defensive front that can take some pressure off, hopefully. But yeah, he's not one that is impressing at all, like you said.
Yeah, I think he's actually a fringe roster guy. I mean, next week we're going to be talking roster cutdowns here on the page.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. Nick Needham is a guy who plays safety and has been brought up a couple times for this slot corner role. If he's going to take some slot corner reps in this preseason game to help Stefanski and co make a decision on what they should do, because Cam Mitchell was supposed to take that next step. And instead of taking that next step, he fell down the damn stairs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think he is a bubble guy. Like Zinter, you brought him up earlier. I think there's a lot of bubble guys that are interesting and will be there. There's a lot of hard decisions this year that weren't necessarily difficult in prior years. And you alluded to it. We have a lot of running backs. We have a lot of quarterbacks. So we may need to cut elsewhere. And some of these guys that are on the fringe, they might just not make it.
Zinter, real quick, I know we already moved past the offense and the offensive line, but I do think he'll still make it because it's year 2 for him and he was a third round draft
Probably.
pick.
Yeah,
But yes, I think
probably.
he is getting close to that bubble already. And that's scary for a third round pick from a GM that has a bad track history of drafting, at least in public opinion. The last thing I want to talk about, is there was a trade today. We traded one, Jawan Briggs, two, the Jets for a 7th round pick. We gave up Jawan Briggs and a 7th round pick for a 6th round pick. Excuse me.
Yeah.
What do you think about all of this? I have a pretty quick opinion on it, honestly. But what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much of an opinion. He was a tackle picked in the 7th round last year, played 6 games for us. I don't think he's a guy that is a big loss. Would I have preferred to get more? Sure. But this doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either. He's one of those traditional, like, one tech, like, nose tackle
Yeah.
type of players. And that just isn't the scheme we really run here. And if you are in a situation where you want to have like a nose tackle, a one tech type of defensive tackle, you drafted who is supposed to be a generational talent at the tackle that you think could probably slot in there, and then you move around, whether it be Michael Hall Jr. as soon as he's healthy, whenever that is. Of course, we still haven't seen him yet. That's a storyline that I'm still paying attention to because you'd think he would have been at camp a little bit with everything he had going on. They sounded happy about it, but it didn't. Regardless, Andrew Berry is stockpiling the extra draft cap capital for next season. And I
Yeah,
think
this
we all
is
kind of know what the thought process is there.
this is one of those deals where it benefits both teams. The Jets get a backup potential guy that can eat some minutes in a game. I mean, he is game worthy. We get a pick out of it in a sense where it was basically like, hey, does anybody want this before I throw it away? That's the vibe. The Jets said, yeah, we'll take it. So everybody kind of wins here.
It sounds like what they are trying to do with one Kenny Pickett, but I will digress. I will
Yeah,
digress on that
I-
one.
I'm
Anything
sure there
else
will
you
be news
got?
soon.
Yeah, right.
No,
Anything else you got for this game?
I think we can wrap up the Browns. I am excited to see Joe Flacco and co. Um, but more so just looking forward to week one. Like I said, I love football and I love that we're in football season. I hate the wait between preseason, especially the last preseason game, and week one.
Yeah.
That 2 week stretch is rough. Thankfully, we have one Ohio State Texas game that's insane. I'm excited, nervously excited for that. Um, but I wish the Browns were playing the next day as well.
We are so close. I can
So close.
smell the football in the air. And for my former football players or, coaches, referees, trainers, whatever, that smell might differentiate a little bit for each of you, but I can smell it in the air nonetheless.